welcome to Viewpoint, the Mayberry of Radio Land. Program of politicians, personalities, and perspectives. And again, we have 2/3. We got 6-7% of those here today. You have any significant comments this morning?
Yes, of course I have a significant comment. Thank you for that.
Yes, well,
thank you for that.
You wanted me to
I was just going to make the startling announcement that it's hot. So if you fellow housewives out there don't want to cook tonight because, again, it's hot, the First Presbyterian Church annual pork barbecue is tonight. It's from 5 to 7:30 on the corner of Pekin and Ottawa, right behind the junior high. Pulled pork sandwich, slaw or applesauce, potato chips, the drink of your choice, other than spirits, of course, and homemade dessert and ice cream for $7. Heck of a deal, and it's air-conditioned.
Yeah, I understand the mayor put the skids on serving no spirits.
They didn't give the Presbyterians a liquor license, you know.
Listen, by the way, that has been a great fundraiser for the Presbyterian folks for several years now. Do a great job, and all the money, as you pointed out this morning on our little ride-up, stays right here in the community.
To be used
they do a lot of nice things in the community.
Yeah,
that's very.
They're upping their backpack lunches for the weekend from, I think it was 19 to 50.
Now explain that for the folks out there in Radio Land. Some folks in Mayberry don't understand this backpack business.
The students there who are eligible for the free or reduced breakfasts and lunches at school, this is a packing up of some things that they can eat over the weekend, because obviously they're not going to get their meals at school. So that's one of many local projects that are supported through the proceeds from the annual pork barbecue.
That's a neat thing. So, folks...
tasty, too. I trust you're coming.
Yes, we've got our tickets.
I sent out my ticket seller to get you.
He hit me up.
Speaking of ticket sellers, you owe me one. A nice young gentleman came to our door the other evening, working on behalf of the Lincoln High School football squad. The young man's name is Sutton, but not that Sutton. He lives over same like family, but he lives over North Union Street.
Oh.
And he was out doing his thing, trying to raise money for their football squad. And the thought occurred to me with all this heat, pretty tough practicing when this is this kind of weather right now.
Yeah, they have.
We forgot kudos. Speaking of hot weather, you know, we used to say the mailman. Well, of course, it'd be the mail person now. I have to be politically correct. But those folks pretty tough going. So kudos to the mail people who get this out on time. They've revised things. I don't know about your house, Mr. Mayor, but they used to come in the afternoon. Now they're Johnny on the spot early in the morning now.
Well, we used to get ours earlier. Now we get ours in the afternoon. So I think they flipped our streets.
They did flip our streets. Yeah. I'll be jiggered.
Well, that's
okay.
It still today. Economic comment. I read where some British, and this might be something we would get this factory here in Lincoln and export the product. British engineers making landmines that look like prayer rugs. And he said over in Afghanistan, the profits are going through the roof.
Oh, God.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Why don't you introduce our guest this morning? Let's get down to some serious business and talk about electric rates and try to explain to somebody what in the world we're doing out here.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here, and the people out there are going to be awfully happy too, because today is the day that Integris Energy is starting to send out their letters to all the people in the city to keep us abreast of what's going on now. And Steve Smith is the president of the Economic Development Partnership Board. He's retired from Ameren, and of course Keith Snyder is our mayor. And we're going to be talking...
And a good one at that.
Huh?
And a great one at that.
And a great one, you betcha. We're going to be talking about, when you receive this letter, be sure to carefully read the whole thing so you know what you're getting into. I feel woefully lax before I got this information about this whole program, not really understanding it, and I'm assuming that maybe there's somebody else out there who doesn't fully understand the whole thing either. So let's start with whichever of you wants to carry the ball first about the fact that this letter will be, they're trying to pass the buck over there. This letter will be starting to come to you now, and it's important that you understand the electric aggregation program, so that it's not an electric aggravation program for you ultimately.
Yeah.
That's right. We don't want that at all.
Not a bit. Not a bit. And now the city has voted. We've voted that we want to do this. So we will be automatically doing this unless we read everything that we get and study this and decide by July 31st, which isn't very much time, that we don't want to do this. So, okay, now, assuming that we, like the city fathers, want to do this, what's the deal?
Sure. The program that the voters authorized at the referendum in March, and that the city has, and other communities here in Logan County, as well as the Logan County Board, the process that we work through is one that's called an opt-out process, so that everybody is in and they will get the rates that are going to be provided by Integris unless they choose to opt out of the program. So the letter that's going to be, people are going to be receiving, describes the rates that they will be paying, the electrical rates that they'll be paying for the next 2 years. It gives them a comparison with the current Ameren rate, lets them see what the savings is projected to be, and then they can decide if they want to participate in the program. And if they do, they don't have to do anything. But if they want to opt out and they want to keep Ameren as their electrical provider, they just simply sign a postcard that will be in the letter and mail it back in, and they are opted out of the program. So everybody's in, and it's for residential properties as well as small commercial properties. So everybody is in unless they opt out or unless they've already agreed to some type of alternative supplier individually. I know a lot of folks in Lincoln have been contacted over the past several months by other suppliers, and they have said, investigate us and we can provide your electricity for you directly. And some folks have signed up for that. In some cases, I know there were incentives that were offered. It might have been a gift card or something like that. So some folks have signed up for other alternative suppliers already. Now, they wouldn't be eligible for the program unless they dropped out of the thing they've already signed up for. But they need to be careful with that. If they've done that, in some cases there are costs to opting out of the alternative. Mm-hmm. In this case, there's no cost to opt out of the city program. And you can opt out now. If you get into it and you decide to drop out at a later point, some other time, they can opt out at that point, and then there's no cost to opt out of this program.
Now, you say that these alternative programs have offered that you can join with them directly. Now, that doesn't mean that these programs are offering the electricity itself, but it has to be delivered to you, and they don't have trucks to deliver electricity, right?
Not yet.
Not so much.
Still comes over the wires. Right?
Yeah. So Ameren is still going to do this for us.
Yes.
Among other things.
Yes.
They're going to handle the billing like they always have, et cetera, et cetera. But now then, what's going to stop them from saying, well, that's nice that you've joined Integris, so now we're going to raise our delivery rates by double? What's to stop them from doing that, so that they would penalize you for having left their total system? Mr. Smith,
I'll let Steve
he's
tackle
passing
that
to
one.
you.
Yeah.
Well, from the Public Utility Acts, all of those kind of charges that Ameren has the ability to charge, basically what we call fixed costs, the cost for the meters, the cost for the meter reader to come around and read them, the pipes and wires of the system are regulated from the Illinois Commerce Commission. The only way that Ameren could raise those rates is they would have to go back and make a rate increase program through the Commerce Commission. It would have to be passed. And it would be passed on to all residents, not just residents who happen to go with the utility aggregation process. So it's not something that they could come back and just, because you're with Integris or some other supplier, they couldn't raise those rates. They'd have to raise the entire rate class.
Okay.
So it's really, that's a very complicated process for them to go through, and requires regulation through the state to do that through the Illinois Commerce Commission.
But historically speaking, how many times has the ICC denied rate raises to these people?
Well,
Not only Ameren, Commonwealth Edison, anybody else.
I can't really tell you how many times. Sometimes they've been allowed to increase the rates substantially, and other times they've been very minuscule as far as their rate increases. You know, they'll go in for X millions of dollars a year. The Commerce Commission listens to them and says, no, we're going to grant you 10% of what you're asking for. So it has been different every time that they've went in.
But you feel that the ICC really has kept tabs on these companies?
Oh, I absolutely do.
Do you? Okay, good.
You know, I feel very strongly that Ameren and Commonwealth Edison, the last increase that they just went through was because of what they call the smart grid. They were asking for a fixed cost on their base rates to do that, to upgrade everything. I honestly believe that was a very good option for them, and they needed to do that. My background has been in public utilities.
Yes.
You know, and we're operating with a utility grid that was put up in the 1940s and 50s. And if you think about how things have changed, well, now we need to go back and redo those. And it's no longer, you know, just we're putting electricity. We need to be able to control what's going in. We'll be able to investigate if there are ways that we could save money. The utilities, Ameren, for example, has their Act on Energy program for residences, that they offer discounts for energy conservation, different things. You can buy light bulbs from them at a reduced rate. Those are the kind of things that Ameren is required to do, and they do a very good job of it. It's just that the Public Utility Act back in the very late 90s brought deregulation to Illinois. And that's what has, over the years, has transpired into where we're at today. Big companies took advantage of deregulation very quickly. They had, by volume, a supplier went to them automatically. Now it's gotten back down to the small person, and as Mayor Snyder referred to, you may have already signed up with someone who called you, or you got a card in the mail that offered you this to convert to them. That's okay, but the utility aggregation for the communities, that law enabled municipalities, counties, whatever, to put on the ballot saying we would like to go out and negotiate a reduced rate for all of the citizens within that municipality or county. That's what happened with Logan County. The partnership saw the opportunity to do that. We took it to the communities and the county, and we felt that that was a very good way to do it. We were successful in every community who put it on the ballot in Logan County, as well as from the county's perspective.
This is really a very, very interesting concept to the, you know, Judy and gentlemen, I've lived long enough to be a bona fide cynic, and, you know, we're used to utility rates going zip, 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 a little bit, sometimes a little more and a little bit. And now we have this opportunity to save what they tell us is going to be about a savings of perhaps 35% to it. And, of course, the cynic in me says, well, what's going on here? There's no free lunch. We all know that. It's an interesting concept. And so, by the way, if anybody has any questions of the gentleman, 648-5510 would be the number to call. I know all of us say, well, this is kind of a windfall. What happened here? How do we get this? So can we take it from there, gentlemen?
Well, I would say, from my perspective, that you have to thank your elected officials, number one. When we brought the prospect to them, everybody was exactly like you. There's no free lunch. Well,
It's the Logan County war cry, don't you know?
It isn't a free lunch because people had to invest time and effort into getting it there. But by doing so, all of your elected officials said, this is a good thing if we can do it. And we were very, very successful. When we went to bid, we were able to get a bid that was still currently the lowest bid in the state of Illinois, and we're going to have that rate for 2 years. Some of the people out there who accepted the bids from the private companies one-on-one, they still got a reduced rate from Ameren, which is okay. But they were out there, and they're one against everyone. It is kind of my position on it, where we took all of the mass. We had a bigger buying group. We were made more lucrative for the people who do the electric supply. So in turn, we got bids from a number of electric suppliers that day, and the bid was significantly lower than what Ameren's mandatory rate that they have to give us every year is. And that's the one thing I want people to understand about Ameren. They are required by law to be a provider no matter what if someone else isn't supplying you. So yes, the normal standard Ameren rate that you get, that's a rate they have to supply. They're mandated to supply. So they don't have really a choice in that. That's a rate they have to give to all of the rate class. So
and regardless where, for instance, our electricity, which company our electricity would come from, if a squirrel gets in the transformer, Ameren is duty-bound then to fix that at the same rate of time that they would have fixed it if we were still buying the actual product itself from Ameren, right? There's no change there.
No, and that's the part that's very hard for most people to understand.
Yes, it is.
Ameren, as everyone knows them, really have for years, from what was Silco or CIPS or Illinois Power, they are still regulated. And on the regulated side, they are required to provide electric service as well as all of the fixed assets, the metering, the repairs, the phone call that you make in the night when your electricity goes out. They have to do that. And so they really, in today, the easy way is just Ameren, the company that you've known for years, doesn't really care on the regulated side where the electricity comes from. They don't know. That person that runs up and down the line out there at night when your electricity's off, they don't know where you get your power from.
True.
They're just an employee of Ameren, the regulated company.
Now, in having made your choice, it wasn't like you just came into this and said, well, what the hey, let's choose this Integris. You have an extensive background in this. So you knew every T that had to be crossed and every I that had to be dotted.
Well, I would like to think I did, but however...
I'm a believer.
There are a lot of things, and I'm not totally familiar with the supplier side of it from there. With the exception, I know that we knew who we wanted to send invitations out to come to the table and bid. We did that. The consultant we used for advice was very good. He was a former Illinois Power Authority person for the state of Illinois. So he held our hand. He led us down the road correctly, and I think he had a great deal to do with us getting the price we got.
Yeah, I was just going to add one thing that he did that was very important for us was the timing of when he actually went out and got the prices. We had everything set to go on a particular week. So we were going to get together, the communities that were involved in the county, we were going to get together, do a conference call to talk about the prices that we were going to get. We're going to ask the suppliers, give us a price on this date. And Mark Pruitt, who is the consultant that we worked with, called us ahead of time and he said, listen, he said, I've noticed something in the natural gas market where it blipped up in cost, and a lot of your electrical generation is provided by the burning of natural gas. So Mark's concern was this blip in the natural gas market was going to raise the cost to produce the electricity, which was going to result in perhaps some bids that were higher than what we thought they maybe should be. So he said, why don't we wait a week? He said, I think maybe things will calm down. We'll wait a week, and then we'll see what it looks like then. We did exactly that, waited a week, then got prices from the suppliers, and as Steve said, we got prices that at this point we still believe are the lowest of any electrical prices in the state of Illinois. So our consultant was very good at knowing the markets. Steve knows a lot, but I don't know much at all. The mayors don't know much at all. But our consultant understood that and was able to guide us through that process.
Is it as much a shirky toot as it is at the gas stations when you go to get gas in your car? I mean, today it's this much and tomorrow it's 20 cents more? Yeah, very, very much so, because we had to sign contracts. Actually, the day that we had the conference call when we found out the prices, they wanted us to sign contracts that day. So I was authorized by the City Council in Lincoln to sign contracts. Mayor Fred Fincham from Atlanta was authorized by the Atlanta Council to sign contracts. So we actually signed on the dotted line that day to lock in those prices for the next 2 years. Well, you're touching a big, Bill. I'm
right
just
ahead, my
being
dear.
so stingy.
Well, you own 50. You own 51% of the show. Do it to you know, it's your show, dear. Go right ahead.
You touched a couple times on a big question here about communities. Now, it isn't just Lincoln. What about the contiguous area here? We've got a lot of, I use the term loosely, suburbs to Lincoln, you know, out by Memorial Park.
Right.
And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What about them?
Sure. The areas that were covered in Logan County by this electric aggregation process, it was the city of Lincoln, the city of Atlanta, the city of Mount Pulaski, the village of Emden, and then all unincorporated areas of Logan County. So if you live, for example, out by Memorial Park, you might have a Lincoln post office address, but you're not in the city of Lincoln. That's
right.
Unincorporated Logan County, so they would be included. So now perhaps somebody that might live in Hartsburg or Middletown, they didn't put it on the ballot last March, so they would not be included. But like I said, Lincoln, Atlanta, Mount Pulaski, Emden, and unincorporated Logan County are all part of this. And we also had two other communities from Fulton County. Table Grove and Ipava that participated with us. So they were part of our consortium. So we all got the same rates.
Could somebody from New Holland say, you know, really, I'd like to get in on this? Can they do that? How would they do that? Steve?
They would actually have to do it themselves now. I couldn't guarantee they would get the same pricing as we did as a consortium that went out to bid. I would be more than happy if they want to call the partnership and tell them I can help them, or the partnership can definitely help them how to lead it through. But it is an individual process right now. And the partnership, that's one of the things we're doing, not so much from the residential customer perspective, but as the partnership has offered any of the businesses that didn't qualify because they were too big, which was around 15,000 kilowatt hours a year, they won't get the opportunity to participate in the aggregation process with us. But the partnership is offered, and I'm kind of leading that charge. I will be more than happy to meet with any of the businesses in Logan County to help them go out for their individual bids. Some companies have already done that, but a lot of the smaller businesses, the restaurants, the small retail stores, just it's something they didn't understand, and many times didn't even understand that they could do it.
Didn't District 27 do something like that a number of years ago?
I think several of the school districts have joined consortiums for both their electrical supply as well as their natural gas supply.
Yeah, right.
Now, there could be savings for schools.
Yeah, that's correct. Most of the schools are currently with Illinois Energy Consortium, although the prices we've been able to work with, and Chester East Lincoln is the first one to take advantage of it. I'm working with them right now to get ready to take them out to bids for theirs on the open energy market, as opposed to using the consortium. But it's a process that they all have to go through. We're more than happy to work with them. The school districts, we've had a couple of the local educational facilities from the Christian education side that we're working with a couple of businesses downtown in Lincoln. We're preparing RFPs for them to go out also. So that's part of being an active member of the Lincoln Logan County Economic Development Partnership. This is a free service.
That's a wonderful service.
And we're going to move in, take a couple of seconds now, and let Mr. Ash jump from his camera work back to the mixing board. And he's a busy guy. And we'll have a couple of seconds of commercials. Then I want to get right back. I want to talk about your firm, Sir, Integris.